Father, thank you for the opportunity to serve the people of our city. Help us to act with character and conviction. Help us to listen with understanding and goodwill. Help us to speak with charity and restraint. Give us a spirit of service and remind us that we are the stewards of your authority. Guide us to be the leaders that your people need. Help us to see the humanity and the dignity of those who disagree with us, and to treat all persons with the reverence that your creation deserves. And finally, Father, renew in us the strength of your presence and the joy of helping to build this community. We ask this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Jack Brown.
Here.
Megan Bryant.
Here.
Larry Bud.
Here.
Steve Dorsones.
Here.
Kathy Driscoll. Here. Jim Olive.
Here.
Jeremy Wilson.
Here. All aldermen are present except for Alderman Skoltedi. This month's Youth of the Month is awarded to Olivia Forley, who won 3 gold medals in the USTA National Championships in Rochester, Minnesota. The city of Taylorville congratulates Ms. Foraker on a job well done. If she'd step forward, I have this proclamation to read. Congratulations. Whereas to really excel in any one subject, a young person must demonstrate, in addition to a great deal of natural ability, an outstanding spirit of knowledge, dedication, enthusiasm, and hard work. And whereas Olivia Foraker became the 2021 USTA National Champion in tumbling, trampoline, and double mini trampoline by placing first in her age group at the USTA National Championship in Rochester, Minnesota. And now, therefore, I, Bruce Berry, Mayor of the City of Taylorville, do hereby proclaim July 6, 2021 as Olivia Foraker Day. Congratulations.
Never had anybody else say that before. That's weird. Congrats.
And I think the alderman would like to see you do a few flips. Congratulations, there's cake for everyone in my conference room. So thank you for coming, and again, thank you, Olivia. You know. Oh. That's all. Thank you. Motion to approve the omnibus designation. Motion by Alderman Bryant, second by Alderman Driscoll. Roll call.
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Steve Dorsones.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Jeremy Wilson.
Yes.
Jack Brown.
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. Minutes of the regular meeting, June 21st, 2021. Minutes of the Street and Sewer Committee meeting held June 24th, 2021. Minutes of the Emergency Services Committee meeting held July 1st, 2021. Minutes of the Personnel Committee meeting held July 1st, 2021. Motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Bryant, second by Alderman Wilson. Roll call?
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Steve Dorsones.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Jeremy Wilson.
Yes.
Doug Brown.
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. There will be no small-town Taylorville update. Steve Craig is flying back, I think, from Colorado or Utah, so we'll have an update at our next meeting. Ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of a Business Development District No. 1 redevelopment agreement by and between the City of Taylorville, Illinois, and M&B Investment Holding Company, LLC. Motion by Alderman Wilson, second by Alderman Bud. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Steve Dorsones.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Jeremy Wilson.
Yes.
Doug Brown.
Yes.
Megan Bryan.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Mayor votes.
Mayor votes yes, motion carries 8-0. Now I need a motion to rescind the ordinance that was not approved at the meeting last meeting, which is amending paragraph D of section 3-3-13 of chapter 3 of title 3 of the Taylorville City Code, allowing designated drive-up facilities for sale and delivery of alcoholic beverages in their original unopened containers.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Bryant, second.
Second.
Alderman Wilson, questions or comments? Comment, Alderman Bud?
I don't think this is the way we should be doing this. We voted it down at the last council meeting. And when you bring it back because it didn't go the way you wanted it to go, and then we'd be doing that on a lot of motions on this council. I missed, I don't know, the first part of June meetings. And I don't think this is the way we should be operating, bringing stuff back because it didn't go the way you wanted. So I will be voting no.
No problem. Any other questions or comments?
I agree.
Roll call.
Steve Dorsones.
No.
Kathy Driscoll.
No.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Jeremy Wilson.
Yes.
Doug Brown.
Yes.
Megan Bryan.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
No.
Motion carries 4-3.
That was a motion to rescind the prior motion. Now the motion is to
Now
adopt
we
the
need
ordinance.
a motion to adopt the ordinance that will allow the delivery of alcoholic beverage, meaning the drive-up windows are able to sell packaged liquor. So I need a motion by Alderman Bryant, second.
Second.
Alderman Wilson, questions or comments on this? Roll call.
Kathy Driscoll.
No.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Jeremy Wilson.
Yes.
Doug Brown.
Yes.
Megan Bryan.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
No.
Steve Dorsones.
No.
Motion carries 4-3. Ordinance amending paragraph 1 of section 8-5-4 of chapter 5, title 8 of the Taylorville City Code. Liability of the property owner for building sewer repairs.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Driscoll, second.
Second.
Alderman Olive, questions or comments? Roll call.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Jeremy Wilson.
Yes.
Doug Brown.
Yes.
Megan Bryan.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Steve Dorsones.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
And the mayor votes yes. Motion carries 8-0. Resolution, conveyance of 828 West Vanderbilt Street property to the Taylorville CSUD number 3. Motion by
I'll make the motion.
Alderman Bud, second.
Second.
Alderman Dorsones, questions or comments?
Mayor votes, and this takes a 6-9 vote to approve it. And just to maybe answer Mr. Budd's thought process, if you look at the actual resolution, because it's a school district, under the Local Government Property Transfer Act, we don't have to get an appraised, we don't have to solicit bids as an exception to statute, so
And
normally you would have to.
some of the aldermen that weren't elected yet, a year or two ago, a lady had given this property to the city. She owed back taxes on it. It was burnt. There was squatters living in it. She decided to give it to us. We tore the house down. There was a $1,600 bill, I think, in back taxes. And I tried to give it to the school. The school accepted it. We just didn't get it recorded. With the back taxes, the school paid $800, and my own cleanup committee paid the other $800. So there's no cost to the city except the cost of tearing the building down. And we decided to give this to the school district. They will build their second, or the 28th, according to Matt Bloomquist's home in the area with the building trades class. And an interesting note, the house they just got done building was the 27th, and the address for that is 727. And the address of this, as you see for their 28th house, is 828. So we need to find something in the next couple months that is maybe 929, and we'll try to see if we can't get that under and give it to the school. So I highly recommend that we do this resolution.
I think the city clerk has received a tax bill that under this resolution, the school will need to pay that.
And the school has agreed verbally to pay it. So, roll call?
Jeremy Wilson.
Yes.
Doug Brown.
Yes.
Megan Bryant?
Yes.
Larry Bud?
Yes.
Steve Dorsones?
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll?
Yes.
Jim Olive?
Yes.
Mayor Barry?
Yes, motion carries 8-0. Resolution, Ameren Underground Electric Heat Service in 1935 Eastwood Drive. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Alderman Bryant, second. Alderman Brown. Questions or comments? The ones that don't know this is the Veterans Memorial that they're doing out by the lake, and the Ameren needs to move the power pole or something, and we need to give them an easement in order to do that. So. Roll call.
Doug Brown?
Yes.
Megan Bryant?
Yes.
Larry Bud?
Yes.
Steve Dorsones?
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll?
Yes.
Jim Olive?
Yes.
Jeremy Wilson?
Motion carries 7-0. Resolution, master lease agreement with the Taylorville Fire Protection District. Motion by Alderman Bud, second.
Second.
Alderman Wilson, questions or comments? Doctor?
I can speak to it briefly. If you look on the exhibit attached to the resolution, the agreement itself, it lists each fire engine or apparatus that the Taylorville Fire Protection District has purchased and leased to the city over the years for $1. What we found was that many of these leases have expired and haven't been renewed, so they need to have a lease on each individual one. It was thought that if you had one master lease agreement that would cover it, that would be a little bit simpler to kind of trace and follow along the years. One question has come up, I think, I've talked to your fire chief, and he was, I guess, explaining some things that has come up on your 2001 Pierce, known as fire engine number 3. It apparently has got some issues with the, what do you call that, the tail?
Frame rails.
Frame rail. It didn't pass the test here recently. Took it to Springfield, it did pass. But
It was
there may
looked
be-
at by 2 different mechanics.
Right. So there may be a problem with this coming up in the next year.
1 to 5 years.
1 to 5 years of a warranty claim would have to be made against that, but I guess the cost is $70,000 if you want to repair it. Fire chief didn't believe that the actual unit itself is even worth $70,000. But the lease agreement that's in this master lease agreement, that's been in all your lease agreements, including the one originally with this was, that when the Fire Protection District bought it, they gave it to the city for $1 for a long-term lease. The city would then repair it and maintain it, take care of the repairs. So as a practical matter, as I was explaining to the fire chief, I think Doug and I had a conversation that this surfaces, and it comes to a point that you folks may decide not to spend good money after that, if that happens, but you still have the problem of replacing that fire engine. So the fire district, I suppose, could take it back and try to sell it, and use it as a trade-in, but I think as Matt will tell you, I think Doug's been in a couple meetings, they've pretty much allocated their funds to buy the new fire truck that's coming, that you already got, and this new rescue squad is supposed to be delivered this fall. So they haven't been hesitating to throw money at the city, but they don't have enough right now to replace a whole new fire truck, another one at $500,000 or $600,000. So just give you that heads up. I know Matt had some concern when I was explaining to him that maintenance clause that's in here has been here on every lease since the beginning of time with the Fire Protection District. So, yes, Kathy?
Is there any way we can modify that so that if the cost of repair is more than the value of the vehicle, we're not obligated to do that?
Well, we can take that back to the Fire Protection District, I suppose, but I don't know, with the current board that you have now, I think they will work with the city. I mean, it's just a question that if you didn't want to spend the $70,000, technically, you'd be in default to the lease.
Right.
Then that means that the district could take back the fire truck. What are they gonna do with it if it doesn't run? They're gonna try to sell it, and then use those funds in their budget to try to help you guys buy something else. But right now, they don't have an extra $500,000 to throw in the pot. Give you a heads up with it. But, I mean, in your question, I mean, you need to have a lease. I mean, we need to get these leases, if nothing else, your insurance policy coverage, you have to have a lease from one entity to another to make sure it's covered. This is just gonna be, one lease is gonna be blanket across everything we can.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call.
Megan Bryant?
Yes.
Larry Bud?
Yes.
Steve Dorsones?
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll?
Yes.
Jim Olive?
Yes.
Jeremy Wilson?
Yes.
Doug Brown?
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. Motion to direct the city attorney to prepare an ordinance to amend the city code to place a four-way stop sign at 1100 North, 1500 East Road with the approval of the Locust Township Commission.
So moved.
Motion of Alderman Bryant, second Alderman Wilson. Questions or comments?
The question I have is this road in the city?
Yes.
If it is, why do we need the township commissioner to consent to it? It's our jurisdiction.
I don't believe it's in the city.
One of the roads is.
Well, we can't be putting stop signs on roads that are not in the city. They won't get enforced. Don't have a jurisdiction.
Both of those roads aren't in the city?
No.
No, I don't think either one is, but Jeremy seems to
When
think.
we looked it on, when he clicked it on the map, it came up city road.
Okay.
In the city limits.
Okay. Well, I'm not for sure, but I know where Chase Dickey lives, which is a half a mile north, is not in the city. Chuck Green lives a half a mile east, that's not in the city. Spurley lives to the west, that's not in the city. The only property that may or may not be in the city would be the Lake Lot Road that leads down there. None of those people that live in that area are city residents that I know of, but I could be wrong, so I suggest maybe we table this until we find out whether it's in the city or not.
How come this hasn't been checked before right now?
Well, I said it at the committee meeting, and people seem to think it was in the city, but you know, with Shannon Coy, he's not in the city. That's where the intersection is, where they're putting the, proposed stop signs.
I was sitting with Mike, when he clicked on the map. and it-
Mike?
The northwest property is city property. That's where the original sign was wanting to go. Mr. Burke, George Burke is the Locust Township Commissioner, is approved to put the other additional signs up, so we'd have a four-way stop. So I just know that I was told by county that it's when it comes to a township road, state road, and city road, we are responsible for that corner. Whatever we need to do, we're responsible for it. So I don't know how that would, we can put one sign up.
So
and
this
that's
road
it.
runs north-south, you're proposing that we put this stop sign?
That's correct.
Is there a stop sign that runs east-west?
No,
Yield.
there's only one yield sign.
Yield sign.
One deal sign coming from the lake.
Coming from the lake?
Coming out from the lake lots.
Okay, so, we can approve it,
I mean, I can draw up an ordinance, but I'm just telling you that if it's not our road, and someone runs the stop
We don't
sign,
maintain that road, Mike.
we can't give a ticket for it.
We maintain is it Hunt Road? We maintain Hunt Road,
Well,
well, where Tracy Hunt lives.
where Tracy Hunt lives.
Okay, I'm not sure where he lives. Is he lives to the
Instead of-
west of Shandy Point?
Turn right, if you're going to Spurling's house, turn right, and it takes you down towards the lake.
Okay,
He lives back in there.
that's what I would call the Lake Lot Road.
Yes.
Right, not a regular, I don't think it's a township road either.
We maintain it.
Yeah,
So
we don't maintain the road.
We do not.
From Chase's house to Coy's house.
No.
And that's where we would be putting the stop sign.
Yes.
Okay.
I would make a motion to table this until we have clarity as far as what is not.
There's a motion on the floor to table, second to table by Alderman Brown. Roll call.
Larry Bud,
Yes.
Steve Dorsones.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Jeremy Wilson.
No.
Doug Brown.
Yes.
Megan Bryant.
Oh.
No.
Motion carries 5-2.
Can I ask a quick
No,
question on
no, you can't discuss
to
it
the attorney about something else?
afterwards. Motion to approve engineering services for the DCEO Rebuild Illinois Public Infrastructure Grant Program for East Main Cross Street Improvement Project. Motion by Alderman Bud, second. Alderman Olive, questions or comments? Roll call.
Steve Dorsones.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Jeremy Wilson.
Yes.
Doug Brown.
Yes.
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Motion to modify and terminate the bid contract for the Ward 3 Franklin Street Storm Sewer Project between the City of Taylorville, Green and Bradford, and Phil Tullis Excavating removing $10,500 for bituminous treatment of Franklin Street. Motion by Alderman Brown, second Alderman Bryant. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Kathy Driscoll,
Yes.
Jim Mullins.
Yes.
Jeremy Wilson.
Yes.
Doug Brown.
Yes.
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Steve Dorsones.
Motion carries 7-0. Motion to approve the restructuring and payment terms for the bond refinance.
So moved.
Motion of Alderman Bryant, second. Alderman Brown. We need to approve the restructuring, we also need to approve the payment. So the first motion will be on the restructuring with Mid-State. So I got that motion from Alderman Bryant, second by Alderman Brown. Roll call.
Can I ask a question before we do that? Aren't you just approving if it's 10, 12, 13, 16, according to the sheet I put in the packet?
I don't remember.
I
That's
think
what
so, and that way they'll draw up the appropriate ordinance for you.
Yeah.
We're just asking
One
which
motion to
program you
approve
want.
which payment plan you want to choose.
Did we talk about that yet?
We talked about it in finance, but then I was asked to put it on council, so I asked them for a summary sheet that I put in your packets.
But we didn't decide in committee, did we?
That's why you have this, to decide what you want.
I hate deciding at council, like it should have.
We got this in.
Yeah.
So, well, Mr. Pastorius asked me in order for him to be able to sell the bonds, he has to know what we want our repayment schedule to be. So, do we want to go with the 260, which approximately pay now, even though our dedicated funds is down to, I think last year was 150,000? Or do we want to, like it says, go to the 10-year or 12-year amortization and pay 200,000 for the remaining years? Do we want to drop down to 175, or we want to drop down to 125 even, which we wouldn't get much of a savings then? So I'll ask Mr. Bud to comment, since he's the past finance chairman, what he thinks.
My opinion would be the 175, which would be the 13-year. The reason I say that is because the revenue for the telecom tax is declining every year. And we've already set up for the next 5 years that out of the gaming revenue, $13,000 a month is supposed to be set aside to make new truck payments. And when you start doing this, and the rest of that money will be put in full cash, which helps pay all of the regular bills, monthly bills. And you can't delete all of the full cash and continue to do all the expenses that you want to do, which you're using gaming revenue as a dedicated resource. And we've already got one coming out of there for that. And if you take this, then you're going to be taking a lot of money out of full cash. That's my opinion.
Any other comments or questions? So I need a motion to have the payment set at 227 for the first 5 years and then 175 thereafter on a 13-year amortization. I have a motion for that.
So moved.
Motion of Alderman Bud, second.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Alderman Driscoll, questions or comments on it? Roll call.
Jim Mullins.
Yes.
Jeremy Wilson.
Yes.
Doug Brown.
Yes.
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Steve Dorsones.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
And I have
Motion.
back.
Motion carries 7-0. Motion and/or motions regarding the Illinois Municipal League Conference. As I said at the committee, we've been asked to pay for half of Rocky's expenses along with the city of Edinburgh. We verbally agreed to it a couple of years. I just wanted to get formal agreement. Do you know what your approximate expenses are, Rocky? Hotel room for 3 nights and.
It's actually, conference is 4 nights, and then registration fee's $310 for
Okay.
anybody. And then I think either you take a train up and back, or you do a parking.
310, 300 a night, 15, 1700, 1800 would probably take care of everything. So our cost would be 900.
He'll want the
I haven't
suite.
had it up.
I was saying, that's
He'll
your
want the
hit.
suite, and
Motel
probably
six.
the massage.
Motel 6.
So can I get a motion to pay half of the city attorney's
So moved.
municipal league conference fee?
Second.
Motion by Alderman Bryant, second by Alderman Dorchenez. Questions or comments on it? Roll call?
Jeremy Wilson.
Yes.
Doug Brown.
Yes.
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Steve Dorsones.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Sure.
Jim Olive.
Yes. I
Motion
assume
carries
some of you all
7-0 with a loud no from the mayor.
I understand you always do that, but is any of the aldermen gonna go?
I am.
Yeah, we need to probably let you know by the end of the month, too.
The registration just opened up about 2 weeks ago, I think, so I would, if you're gonna go, register right away and get your book up, they go fast.
All right, well, we'll get a head count after the meeting tonight if he wants to go. The city does pay for the hotel room. Each alderman is responsible for their travel if they're back.
Hotel room and registration, right, or not
Right, no,
registration?
hotel room
Okay.
and
I
registration.
couldn't
What
remember.
about the parking? I thought we changed it when you parked, because it costs like $60 to park.
Ride the train.
Yeah. Go with your buddy and
I can get
split
it.
the cost. So, okay, we'll talk about that after the meeting. Motion to bid and or advertise a working foreman position in the cemetery department.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Bryant, second.
Second.
Alderman Wilson, questions or comments? Roll call?
Doug Brown.
Yes.
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Steve Dorsones.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll. Jim Olive.
Yes.
Jeremy Wilson.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. City attorney update.
I'm gonna reserve my comments on the two motion and, we get to line of personnel and also emergency services, and then I've got a number of things to talk about in closed session. That's it, if you have any questions.
Oh.
No
I'm
comment?
done.
Mayor update. First, I'd like to apologize to Chairman Hauser. We don't have it on the agenda for the zoning board recommendations, so we will have to discuss that. Any other matters, so it'll be at the end of the meeting. I apologize. Mayor update. It's been a busy past 2 weeks. Thank you to Kelly Hamill and Julie Lilly for getting the budgets ready. Thank you to Mike Kenneth for great work at the cemetery. Thank you to the many volunteers who put up the flags and also the ones who took them down. Thank you to Mike Mann and his staff for cleaning up the tree that fell on the parade route early Saturday morning. Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce and Linda Allen for hosting a marvelous parade. Thank you to the volunteers who helped serve the mayor's luncheon. Thank you to Angelo's, Ron's Produce, Kroger, Walmart, and Pepsi. And thank you to our new rock star fire chief, Matt Aderman, for the great music. Thank you to the Methodist Church Choir. Thank you to Jeffrey Ortman and the Lake Crew. Great job at the lake this weekend. Thank you to the Optimus Club for the best fireworks ever. Thank you to our food vendors, Kona Ice, the municipal band, and our marina staff. Thank you for Jeffrey for giving me a boat ride on the lake. July was the 3rd or 4th, I don't remember, but we had a great time. Invite everyone to go out there, at least take one boat ride. Jeffrey is in charge of the boat ride. I see continued work on the old round table. It'd be good to get that back in business. I didn't mention our police, but during the holiday weekend, our police kept fighting our drug issue. Thanks to them, they never take a day off. Do you, man? Thank you to David Spiegel for doing an excellent job with the new water plant. Starting July 16th, we will have Journey in July in our downtown square. That will run Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. July 17th, we will have our employee appreciation luncheon at the marina. Please RSVP with Tammy or Tracy in the clerk's office. We will soon open bids for the East Main Cross project. We'll spend that money. We've got $1.51 million from the Rebuild Illinois program. Thank you to Andy Menard. We received word last Friday that our request for $1.2 million for West Main Cross Street has made it out of the House, and now the surface transportation legislation is now in the United States Senate court. So we will be lobbying Senator Durbin and Duckworth to try to get that passed. Thank you to Congressman Rodney Davis for his work on this, and I will keep you updated as the process moves forward. Again, I mentioned this at our last meeting. I urge all aldermen to come up with ways to improve their wards by using their ward money. As of June 11th, Ward 1 had $270,000. Ward 2 had $382,000. Ward 3, who had used theirs in the last couple of years, had $103,000, and Ward 4 has $326,000. I urge you guys to spend your money on sidewalks, curbs, road repair, anything. The city needs it. This money may be used to replace sidewalks, curbs and gutters, also street and alley repairs in your ward. We also have $171,000 in Ward 5, which may be used in any of the wards with the alderman approval. So if there's a particular project in Ward 3 that the alderman thinks it's reasonable to do, we can use Ward 5 money. So
Thank you.
we need to fix our sidewalks. That's our major discrepancy here. We need to do that. All right, thank you. Committee reports. Discussions and/or motions to approve, adopt, and/or deny, and/or table, and/or amend, and/or refer to the appropriate committee in whole or in part the matters regarding the following subject matters discussed at the committee level. Street and sewer, Alderman Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to recommend the city council approve the engineering study to be done by Benton Associates for the Walmart lift stations pump upgrade.
Motion by Alderman Wilson, second. Alderman Driscoll, questions or comments? Comment?
That'll be paid for out of the BDD funds. That's in the BDD and the ZIP district.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, roll call.
Megan Bryant?
Yes.
Larry Bud?
Yes.
Steve Dorsones?
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll? Jim Mullins?
Yes.
Jeremy Wilson?
Yes.
Doug Brown?
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. Personnel Committee, Alderman Driscoll.
All right, our first motion to come out of this meeting, motion to recommend to the city council to accept the resignation of Assistant Fire Chief Tony Rogers.
Motion by Alderman Driscoll, second. Alderman Dorchenez. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Second motion to make, I'd like to make a motion to recommend to the city council to amend the city code to allow non-bargaining employees to live within a 6.5-mile radius of the courthouse.
Motion by Alderman Driscoll,
Second.
by Alderman Bryant. Questions or comments?
Comment.
Comment? Alderman Bud?
I don't like the idea of opening it up to all of our superintendents and chiefs where they can live 6.5 miles out. There's got to be some skin in the game of living in the city. I understand from Mr. Hackney, I don't have a problem extended so that you can be, because we're in a situation that there's nobody else. But I just don't think that we should be opening it up for everybody to be able to live 6.5 miles out of the city. So I will be voting no.
Any other comments or questions?
I'd like to comment, number one, I'd like to have a motion, actually should direct the city attorney to prepare that change. You're talking about, and I handed out to everyone this evening, the city code section 1-9-2. I also handed out to you what the statute says. And that's why the code was written that way. And everybody that is appointed to an office, which would include your fire chief, assistant fire chief, police chief, assistant fire chief, myself, city engineer, so on and so forth. You're not eligible to become an appointed municipal office unless you live in the city and you're qualified to vote here. The exception to that would be, by the statute, would be a city attorney, city engineer, health officers, or other officers. I highlighted that on the statutory statute I give you, who require technical training or knowledge. If you skip down, the ordinance and statute allows you, since you're under 500,000, even though you're a non-home rule municipality, you are allowed to adopt an ordinance that allows firemen and policemen to reside outside the corporate limits. With that statute in mind, that's what 1-9-2 that you see before you was drafted. Now, if you want to handle the situation that's at hand with the assistant fire chief, if you'll see I've written on there, you could just change the assistant fire chief on the two places of that ordinance, and that would take care of the problem for you that you had. I think you're going to have a problem with having me to change it to way I've read the personnel committee, I don't think the statute allows to do that. And I've done some checking, and I've never seen anything where department heads would be an exception under this particular statute. And I can clarify that maybe in municipal league this fall, but we've always taken the position that the way this ordinance you have now is written, it complies with the law. You could, because you've got a fireman, such a fire chief, you could remove them from 1-9-2B, meaning that he would not have to be a qualified elector in the city, and could reside within the 6.5 mile radius that you have for all your other firemen. Yes?
Can I ask a question? Okay, so if we did that, you know, for this one situation, and then let's say we have a superintendent down the road that decides they want to move out to Burton, then do we make that exception again?
I don't know that a superintendent would qualify. That's what I'm raising here. The statute doesn't talk, very clearly it talks about firemen and policemen, and those who require technical knowledge and training. And I've searched, you know, what every one of our employees probably has to have technical training or knowledge of some sort, but I've never seen anything where they've allowed department heads to escape the statutory requirement of being a resident in your town.
And that's by state statute?
That's what I gave you. If you look at the handout I gave you,
I did.
yeah, I'm sorry, no person shall be eligible for any appointed municipal office unless that person is a qualified elector of the municipality. And then B says they don't apply to the people at A.
What about,
Here you go challenge me again.
I got you. What about the situation of them, just to handle this situation that we've got, Mr. Hackney in there in that position, what about addressing it as living within the fire protection district? I know we mentioned that.
You can do that. Now, you can do the 6.5 mile because he's a fireman. Okay, and you have the right, or that statute I gave you, to allow firemen and policemen not to be residents in your town. And I think by your, probably your union contract, you
Well,
live
the
in
union
6.5.
contract, firemen can live within 20 miles of the
Which
courthouse.
needs to be changed.
They
So
negotiate.
this needs to be changed, yes. It does.
So,
Conform to that.
we got a motion on the floor to allow that, and so if
I need
Megan
to
would
modify.
like to,
I
pardon?
need to modify then.
Well, Megan needs to change her
You
motion
made a motion,
to,
so.
I made the motion.
I thought Megan did.
I made the motion when I read it.
All right, so would you like to modify your motion to just allow,
I feel I need to make that because that's the law, so.
Assistant Chief Hackney, who is
I'm sorry.
live within 6.5 miles?
Our fire chief has a question.
I just want to make a point that the assistant fire chief is the only superintendent position in the city that has to actually take a written test. So it's actually test a position, and then he's selected to do that.
It is its own
It's not, the mayor can't
situation.
sit here and say, I want him to be the assistant fire chief, because the way the police and fire commission is set up has to be tested. So it's a unique situation.
So we need to change your motion to allow the assistant fire chief to live within 6.5 miles of the courthouse.
To direct the city attorney to make the appropriate changes to section 1-9-2 to allow the assistant fire chief to be within a 6.5, to be able to reside within a 6.5 mile radius of the courthouse. Unless you guys want to minimize that to the fire protection district.
I think I will modify that according to the 6.5 mile. That's what I'll modify my motion.
Okay, she modified the motion to the 6.5 mile, or we could modify it to the Taylorville Fire Protection District. So do I have a second on Ms.
Which one?
Driscoll's?
The first.
On the 6.5
Mine, 6.5.
mile.
Do I have a second for
Do I
that?
have a second on the
Yes.
6.5 mile?
Just for this one position.
Just for this one position, and it's already in the law because it's a fireman.
So,
Yes, I second it.
motion and a second. Any other questions or comments?
So she changed it to just this one on fire.
Roll call.
Larry Bud?
Yes.
Steve Dorsones?
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll?
Yes.
Jim Mullins?
Yes.
Jeremy Wilson?
Yes.
Doug Brown?
Yes.
Megan Bryan?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, moving on to.
Motion to recommend the city council to bid and or advertise.
That's mine.
What's that? Oh, sorry.
Mine. Yeah, you just on a roll there. Okay, motion to recommend to the city council to bid and or advertise a full-time dispatcher to the police department.
Motion by Alderman Driscoll, second.
Second.
Alderman Wilson, questions or comments? Roll call.
Steve Dorsones.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Jeremy Wilson.
Yes.
Doug Brown.
Yes.
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
And the next motion I'd like to make is to recommend the city council hire 2 police officers for the academy. And side note with that is that we have someone we're expecting to retire.
Motion by Alderman Driscoll, second. Alderman Brown, questions or comments? Roll call.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Jeremy Wilson.
Yes.
Doug Brown.
Yes.
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Steve Dorsones.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
The next motion I'd like to make is to recommend to the city council to raise the salary of the street and sewer superintendent by 5%.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Driscoll, second by Alderman Wilson. Comments or questions?
Comment?
Comment? Alderman Bud?
When this was done, we had told the health and safety officer, Mr. Goodall, that he would have to wait for his increase till there was an evaluation done. And I personally believe this is a smack in the face to him, because we told him he had to wait. There's not been an evaluation on this, and I don't have nothing wrong with Mike whatsoever on this at all. But I think that there's a gentleman that we know that he picked up extra duties, and we're telling him, you have to wait, but then the street superintendent didn't have to wait. And I didn't think that was right.
If I may rebut that wasn't actually why we were waiting. We needed to have a job list description of what duties he was supposed to have and come up with an amount, a salary, before we could give him one. So that was what we were waiting on. And I have reached out to former superintendent Newberry to get this information, so we can move forward on it.
I just think that it was wrong.
Alderman Dorsones, do you have a comment?
Yes, I'm against that, I'm against this also. I'm not saying that any of these superintendents don't deserve a raise. However, I think that we should be doing what's already in the city code and evaluating each and every one of these people in writing every year, and giving them an opportunity annually to get an increase from anywhere from 0 to 6%. By doing so, we would keep any and all of these superintendents from having to come to the committee meetings or the city council whenever they think they deserve a raise. They would be getting the opportunity to have an increase every year because they'd have it along with their annual evaluation as it is in the city code.
So there's a motion for the 5%
I have
raise for
a comment to reply to that. That is something we discussed. We will be having annual evaluations, and we will try to tie the raises to that as well. So that is something we discussed, Ms. Norris.
Right now, there's a motion on the floor to raise the salary of the street and sewer superintendent 5%. I had a motion and a second. Roll call.
Jim Olive.
No.
Jeremy Wilson.
Yes.
Doug Brown.
Yes.
Megan Bryant.
Oh, not me. Go back to somebody else. Oh.
Would you like me to come back?
Yeah.
You can.
2 years I've done this, I didn't know. Yeah, it's good.
Earl used to do it all the time. Larry Bud.
Yes, or no, I'm confused.
The motion's to give the superintendent
No.
a 5% raise.
No.
Okay?
Steve Dorsones.
No.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Megan Bryant. It is time.
This is over shoot myself.
Okay.
I'm gonna say no. Sorry, Mike.
Motion fails 3-4.
All right. The next motion I'd like to make is to recommend to the city council to bid and or advertise 3 laborers in the street department.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Driscoll, second by Alderman Wilson. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
All right, the last motion I'd like to make is to recommend the city council to amend the employee handbook policy for the return of all city property upon severance within set guidelines. This is in reference to when you are done with your job here you have to return all city property that day.
Motion by Alderman Driscoll,
Second.
second by Alderman Bryant. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Emergency Services, Alderman Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to recommend to the city council to allow Fire Chief Aderman to purchase a new fire hose at a cost not to exceed $2,000.
Motion by Alderman Brown, second.
Second.
Alderman Olive, questions or comments? Roll call.
Doug Brown?
Yes.
Megan Bryant?
Sure.
Larry Bud?
Yes.
Steve Dorsones?
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll?
Yes.
Jim Olive?
Yes.
Jeremy Wilson?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Next motion, I would like to make a motion to recommend to the city council to allow Police Chief Wheeler to complete required upgrades to transition the 2 administration vehicles to fleet vehicles at a cost not to exceed $12,000.
Motion by Alderman Brown,
Second.
second. Alderman Driscoll, comments or questions? Roll call.
Megan Bryant?
Yes.
Larry Bud?
Yes.
Steve Dorsones?
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll?
Yes.
Jim Olive?
Yes.
Jeremy Wilson?
Yes.
Doug Brown?
Yes. Motion carries 7-0.
The next motion I'd like to make is a motion to recommend the city council to allow Police Chief Wheeler to purchase 2 new vehicles and basic stock equipment at a cost not to exceed $49,100.
Motion by Alderman Brown, second.
Second.
Alderman Wilson, questions or comments?
I'd like to comment on that, Mr. Mayor. By law, you can only purchase vehicles through an ordinance, so your motion should direct the city attorney to prepare an ordinance to do that. And since it's over $25,000, it does require bidding unless a motion is included to waive all statutory bidding requirements. And that would take a 6-9 vote here to adopt the motion accordingly. And really, the mayor should be the one signing off on the contract to buy it. And that's how the ordinance would read. So if you got a couple of vehicles in mind, police chief can get those specs to me, I'll attach it to the ordinance. You can adopt it next month and then waive your statutory bidding requirements. That would be my suggested motion.
I would like to amend that motion to the requirements that the city attorney just explained.
Second. Alderman Wilson, roll call.
Larry Bud?
Yes.
Steve Dorsones?
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll?
Yes.
Jim Olive?
Yes.
Jeremy Wilson?
Yes.
Doug Brown?
Yes.
Megan Bryant?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Finance Committee, Alderman Dorsones.
Thank you, Mayor Barry. I'd like to make a motion to recommend to the city council to approve the fiscal year May 1, 2021, April 30th, 2022 budget in the amount of $26,366,254. Make that in form of a motion.
Motion by Alderman Dorsones, second by Alderman Bud. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Steve Dorsones?
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll?
Yes.
Jim Olive?
Yes.
Jeremy Wilson?
Yes.
Doug Brown?
Yes.
Megan Bryant?
Yes.
Larry Bud?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Motion to recommend to the city council to approve the fiscal year May 1, 2021 through April 30, 2022 appropriations in the amount of $33,108,204. Make that in the form of a motion.
Motion by Alderman Dorsones, second. Alderman Bud, questions or comments? Roll call.
Kathy Driscoll?
Yes.
Jim Olive?
Yes.
Jeremy Wilson?
Yes.
Doug Brown?
Yes.
Megan Bryant?
Yes.
Larry Bud?
Yes.
Steve Dorsones?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Motion to recommend to the city council to direct the city clerk's office to prepare the appropriation ordinance for fiscal year 2020, 2021 in the amount of,
Sorry, that should be.
2021, 2022.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. In the amount of $33,108,204, and that the document be available for public inspection in the city clerk's office beginning July 8, 2021, and that a public hearing be set for 6:45 p.m. on Monday, July 19th, 2021. Make that in the form of a motion.
Motion by Alderman Dorsones, second by Alderman Bud. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Jim Olive?
Yes.
Jeremy Wilson?
Yes.
Doug Brown?
Yes.
Megan Bryant?
Yes.
Larry Bud?
Yes.
Steve Dorsones?
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Motion to approve. Motion to approve and/or ratify payment of bills. $209,843.88. Is a motion to approve?
Second.
By Alderman Bryant, second by Alderman Brown. Questions or comments? Roll call?
Jeremy Wilson.
Yes.
Doug Brown.
Yes.
Megan Bryan.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Steve Dorsones.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Jim Oliver.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. First subparagraph G of 5 ILCS 120-2.06. This portion of the city council meeting is reserved for any person wishing to address the council on any relevant subject matters concerning the city. The Illinois Open Meeting Act 5 ILCS 120/1-C mandates no action shall be taken on subject matters not listed on the agenda, but the council may direct staff to address the topic or refer the subject matter to a future council and/or committee meeting. If anyone wishes to address the council, please provide your name and address, limit your comments or presentation to 3 minutes, and avoid repetitious comments. Thank you. Mr. Hauser, would you like to state your business?
Yes, Mayor and members of the Board of Aldermen. Planning and Zoning Commission met this evening, and it was essentially a continuation of 2 weeks ago when both agenda items were tabled at that time, pending the submission of more up-to-date material to be reviewed by the city engineer. That information was submitted, and regarding the Farm Credit Illinois site plan and, initially the site plan, the city engineer replied that all previous concerns have been corrected, revised, or answered satisfactorily. We still recommend the following. There were 2 points. Copies of all IDOT permits should be provided to the city for their files prior to any construction activities within IDOT right-of-way, and current and revised drawings should be submitted to the city for their files. They were, or I assume they will be, and the Planning and Zoning Commission voted unanimously to recommend to the City Council approval of that site plan for Farm Credit, subject to the submission of those documents to the city.
Thank you.
There was a second part to that, and that was regarding the construction plan. The construction plan also needed to include sidewalk, which is to be built actually on the state right-of-way, on the IDOT right-of-way, and or wherever it fits, I guess. So the Planning and Zoning Commission voted unanimously to recommend to the City Council approval of the construction plan for Farm Credit Illinois, assuming or based on the fact that all the prior mentioned conditions will be met, and including the construction of a sidewalk. The sidewalk which goes from which should go from 29, essentially 29 out west on 104 to what are the
Hickory Estates.
Say again?
Hickory Estates.
Hickory Estates, yes. It is contingent on the addition of the sidewalk. And waivers have been given in the past by the City Council, to the point that when the first one gets built, then the rest of them have to be built. And this is filling in the gap now, so it's time to act. So that was our recommendation.
Thank you very much. Well, I just got a question on this. Rocky, since it's not on the agenda, we can't approve it, but I think at least the coffee shop would like to get started as soon as possible. So, Andy, could we wait 2 weeks to approve that, or do they want to get started earlier, do you know?
They want to start as soon as they can, so, I mean, they can't start for 2 weeks, they can't start for 2 weeks, I mean, that's.
Or could we call a special meeting to approve this?
You can.
We have to Well, do we have it Thursday night, before the, committee meeting?
You only have 48 hours.
Next week.
Nope, it's just-
Oh, no, it's Tuesday, I'm sorry.
Is it Friday night?
West
We
Side.
can do it next Monday. Can we do it next Monday? Is that okay with you? I'd like to get it approved as soon as we can. We'll have a special meeting next Monday to approve this, and is 5 o'clock okay with everyone? So it just takes 5 minutes? 5:30. 5:30? 5 o'clock. Have a special meeting at 5:30 next Monday to approve that. Okay. Anyone else in the audience like to speak to the council? Ms. Miller, state your name and address and.
Carol Miller, 604 East Bidwell.
Joe, are you done? Excuse me.
No, sir.
Oh, you're not done? I thought you were done.
No.
I'm sorry.
No, we only dealt with one property, and that was the Farm Credit Illinois.
Okay,
The second thing that was on our agenda was the Midtown Plaza Scooters Coffee Drive-Through.
okay, sorry
Yes.
about that.
Their plans have been submitted and recommended, approved by the city engineer, with 3 notations. That the city water department should review the service connection to the water main and coordinate placement of curb stop and water meter pit. That copies of all IDOT permits should be provided for the city for their files prior to any construction activities within the IDOT right away. And the current and revised drawings should be submitted to the city for their file. They included a sidewalk in their plan, so there was no concern there. The city Planning and Zoning Commission voted to recommend both the site plan and the construction plan for approval by the city council.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. Thanks for the opportunity.
All right, anyone else like to speak? All right?
Are you done?
Yep, go ahead.
I'm
Go
finished
ahead. State your name and address.
Carol Miller, 604 East Bidwell. Mayor, you, Larry Budd, Jim Allen, and Andy know the problem we have on Bidwell. Crazy Mary.
Right.
She bought this house not intending to live in it. She is a hoarder. It's packed everything over there. There's weeds, there's all kinds of varmints running around. It's a health hazard, and how in the hell would you like that in your front yard?
I have been aware of this situation.
Yes, you have.
Since George Calvert was there.
That's right.
I've worked with our zoning officer. He told
You
me.
tramped over in all the weeds.
He told me this past week that they did remove one of the cars. I have not been informed of any of the varmints. This is the first I heard was yesterday when you told me at the cemetery. So I asked.
Early in the morning, you can see rats on the driveway. There's possums, coons, feral cats, everything.
This is the first I've heard of that. I mean, to be honest with you. I've been there numerous times for the last 3, 4, 5 years.
And I hope to hell,
And I
if it
don't
ever
know.
catches on fire, not a fireman goes in that house.
So, if
I know a tree went through it. I prayed to God it was lightning.
yeah. If Alderman Bud or Olive, I know that's in your ward, if you would like to address this, or if you'd like to have Andy address what we have done and what we plan to do, so it's up to you.
I think she is, and as Carol knows, I mean, it's been addressed as, I guess, to the legal standpoint as to what you can do with her legally, as, you know, you're aware of. It's like, kinda like beating your head against the wall.
Can we find any Indians and have them shoot fire arrows or anything at it?
That's an idea.
You guys are recording, so.
No. But it is, and it's really a pain. I understand your frustration, but there's only so much we can legally do.
It's not livable.
No, and I don't think it ever was livable. She's got files so full, but
And the garage, the sheds, the cars she put in there to use as storage, she's a hoarder.
I don't think legally there's anything you can, you know, I could be a hoarder. But I understand your frustration.
We can do things about the unlicensed cars in the yard, and Andy has addressed that. As far as what's in the house or in the garage, Rocky, I don't think we can address that. I mean.
Well, it's probably eventually all gonna cave in, because those floors, when Lily and Bailey lived there, they was bad shape.
That's my wife's great aunt, so I'm well aware of that.
Huh?
That's my wife's great aunt. I was at that
She
house
kept that
many a
place
time.
immaculate.
Right.
One hand and she'd be out there little clippers cutting.
Exactly, absolutely, yes. So, we are aware of the situation. Andy and I will address it again tomorrow. We will do every legal thing that we can to come to some.
You're gonna have to cut them weeds and that out of there.
I agree, I agree. Thank you.
Thank yous.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
just quickly, as everybody may be aware, we were going to bid out the roof of this section of the building. Then I received a letter, and also a conversation with Mike Teller, the engineer. We're going to push this back to the end of the year. Reason being is the materials for roofing projects are running, what do you say, some 6 to 7 weeks late. I guess Memorial had a big project ready to go. They can't get the materials till October or November. So rather than try to bid it with everything running late and all the companies just throwing money at it, we're just gonna push it back. Roof presently not leaking, we got all that problem solved. Just to let everybody know we're gonna put a hold on it till.
All right, thank you. Anyone else like to address the full board? Seeing none, we need a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Pursuant to 5 ILCS 120-2C11, to discuss the pending litigation, Jamal Shahada versus City of Taylorville, cause number 2021, MR-21, Circuit Court, 4th Judicial, Taylorville, Illinois, and 2 interlocutory appeals filed by Jamal Shahada with the 5th District Appellate Court in General, number 521-0105, 5-21-0128, and any and all subject matters related to, including but not limited to subject matters related to investigation, attorney-client reports, consultant reports, discovery, settlement negotiation, office issues, strategy, and insurance coverage, and to include the following persons to be present during all or part of such closed session: the mayor, alderman, city clerk, city treasurer, city attorney, police chief, and such other person or person as the mayor may decide during the city council meeting and or during such closed session.
So moved.
Alderman Driscoll, second. Alderman Dorsones. Roll call.
Doug Brown.
Yes.
Kevin Bryant.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Steve Dorsones.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Jim Muller.
Yes.
Jeremy Wilson.
Motion carries 7-0. I would ask that Vince and Mr. Tobin stay here. All other people
I have that.
are.
I need to get a bottle.
Show the time.